Hello, my name is Kelly Tiller, and last summer I interned with Johnson & Johnson in the pharmaceutical division of their company called Janssen Pharmaceuticals. I was assigned to the Remicade inline commercial marketing team, and Remicade is a biologic drug that treats Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. For the summer, I worked on a social media project, as well as engaged in some ECLDP intern activities. So that was my role for the summer, and I was fortunate enough to have received an offer. So I will be feeding right into their ECLDP full-time rotational program, where I will complete 2 rotations and then land at my final placement, which is Janssen Biotech in Horsham, Pennsylvania. And the internship program is actually a direct feeder into that full-time rotational program. So moving on to the first question, the CMC would like me to tell you about how I adjusted and acclimated to my internship life when I first started there. And it's kind of a funny story. My first day, I got in early, and I wasn't prepared, I think, for the full-length workday. And about 2:30, we had a forecasting meeting, and it was incredibly hard for me to stay awake. I hadn't had coffee or anything like that, so definitely from my first day moving forward, I came prepared with nutrition bars, and I had my afternoon and morning coffee, and I even brought some energy drinks, just because transitioning from the school schedule to an 8 or 9 hour workday can be a bit of a transition, and you want to make sure that you are really focused and paying attention to every little thing, especially from the beginning. So be prepared, bring snacks, drink your coffee, things like that. The next question is, how did I meet people? So Johnson & Johnson is a very big company, and so what I did is I sat down with my manager and made a list of all the people that I should meet with in regards to my social media project. So any and everyone that had projects going on either in digital or social media, I had on my list to meet with. So I would even meet with people across the franchise. For example, I met with the HIV/AIDS social media team on what they were doing in that space with social media to get their insights and ask them questions and see if they had any feedback for me on my project. So that was one way that I met with people. The second way that I met people was in meetings. I would make sure that I introduced myself to everyone, and I would get people's first and last names and make sure I followed up that it was great meeting them and that I hope to either run into them or schedule some individual time to meet with them later on in the summer. I also spoke with the admin on my commercial team about who is who and who should I meet with, who is an upcoming leader in the organization, or who do I have a lot in common with, and she really helped me navigate that. But I kept an ongoing list of people who I needed to meet with related to my project, people that I needed to meet with related to my ECLDP rotational program, and then people that I needed to meet with regarding my own personal interest of Latin America and those folks who had experience in that regional sphere. So that's really what I did, but I kept track of it. The next question is, how did I know when to ask for help and who to ask for help? So the admin on your team, or the person who's in charge of organizing everything that happens in the office, typically will know who does what, who is where, and she or he can help point you in the right direction when you need help. I recommend that before you ask your manager for help on something, that you make sure that it's something that can't be Googled, or something simple that you can ask someone sitting next to you or your admin. Typically, managers are very, very busy, and they will appreciate you doing your due diligence to solve the problem or answer the question before you approach them. So that's one pointer I have. So the next question is, what 2 to 3 things do I think made the biggest impact on Johnson & Johnson's decision to hire me? So I think first and foremost is really attention to detail. I take the approach that the devil is in the details. And when you only have about 12 weeks to make your mark and demonstrate the type of employee that you will be, it's really important that you pay attention to detail. And I mean this in everything from what time you show up in the office and what time you leave, and how you conduct yourself in small conversations and how you prepare for meetings, how you follow up with questions. Every little thing that you do will be analyzed and evaluated. So I recommend really making sure that, when you're doing, office emails, inter-office emails, that you keep them short, concise, to the point, and free of grammatical errors and things like that. When you show up to meetings, be prepared, be early, make sure you have questions in case it's appropriate to ask them. When you're meeting with people one-on-one, whether it be your manager or a leader in the organization, be sure that you're prepared and that you do your research before you meet with that individual, so that the questions that you do develop are on point, and that you're prepared also to talk about yourself in a very clear, concise way and articulate the goals that you have that you want to accomplish over the summer. Typically, people that you meet with, especially if they're higher up in the organization, are going to be extremely busy, and it's very important that they feel that you've taken the meeting with them, even if it's a 15-minute meeting, very seriously. So really pay attention to detail in everything that you do. The second piece of advice is go the extra mile. So even if you get a project that doesn't align with your personal career interests, I had no background in social media, or healthcare, or traditional marketing, so my project, my assignment were completely new to me, but I really embraced the fact that it was a learning opportunity, and not only was I going to deliver what was expected, because I think that in your internship, since you've gotten the internship, your managers and everyone will expect you to deliver what is outlined, but it's up to you to go the extra mile and really design how you want to do that. So I worked with my manager on making sure that there was a little piece of Kelly Tiller that I could add to my project that would differentiate me from others and be a talking point in calibrations when they were, deciding my fate. But I also think that going the extra mile is integrated into the fact that you do need to pay attention to detail. But, I would follow up with the people that I met with thank you cards, and really communicate how much I valued people taking time to teach me things. And I would, transition that into deliverables and delivering a final project that was something of value to the organization. So I really recommend that you figure out early on what you can do to go the extra mile. The next piece of advice that I have is really manage and nurture the relationship with your manager. So typically the manager is the person that's going to be speaking on your behalf and making a recommendation as to whether or not the company should hire you. So you don't get to pick your manager, and you may be assigned to someone who you don't necessarily mesh well together with, but that's up to you to figure out how to ensure your success over the summer. And remember that managers have either volunteered or have demonstrated the ability and competence to have an intern, and it is in their best interest for you to be successful. However, they're very, very busy people. So what I did is every Monday morning I would send my manager an email of my schedule for the upcoming week, which would include calls about my project or meetings about my project or meetings that I had related to the ECLDP program, so that he knew where I was going to be and what I wanted to accomplish that week. And then on Friday, I would follow up with a summary of what I did throughout the week and any other kind of status updates that I should provide him leading into next week. So I really left no questions as to what I was doing, where I was, so that he didn't have to wonder or guess what I was up to if I didn't see him every day. So I think communication with your manager is really, really important. I also made an effort to spend a lot of FaceTime with him and would walk with him to meetings, even if I wasn't sitting in on them, just to chat and catch up. We had lunch together several times. So I really think that you should nurture and manage the relationship with your manager. I also did a midway and end report on my own, where I emailed my manager a list of all the things that I had delivered and accomplished, as well as the goals that I had set out for myself for the remaining half of the summer. And I did this around the 6-week mark. This way, when he went in to talk about me in the decision about hiring, he could even print out a list of the things that I had done, people that I had met with, activities that I had engaged in, without doing it himself. So I wanted to make sure that he had concrete evidence of what I did and what my goals were for the summer, which I think was really beneficial moving into the final stretch of the internship. Any other advice or tips that I would offer? One is that internships can be quite stressful and competitive in some sense, but I like to think of it as that you're only competing with yourself. At Johnson & Johnson, I interned with candidates from Darden and Wharton and where else? Michigan, Kellogg. So there's this aura of competitiveness when you first start, but at the end of the day, I wasn't being evaluated on how I matched up to my peers or how I did relative to someone else in a completely different division and project. I was being evaluated based on the criteria set out for me. So I think that it's really important to remember that the only person you're really competing with is yourself. And if at the end of the day, you can go home and look in the mirror and think about the goals that you set out for yourself and know that you've tried your best to achieve those, and by the end of the summer you've delivered on those goals, you'll likely be hired. So really remember that, especially in times where you feel like it's so competitive and there's politics and things like that, that you at the end of the day are competing against yourself. The second piece of advice I have is network. Networking isn't in everybody's nature, but I think that because internships are so short, you have a very limited amount of time to make a positive impression on people across the company. So if networking opportunities are not built into your internship role, make sure you create them for yourself. So whether that's organizing an internship coffee networking thing in the morning where you along with other interns invite business leaders to mingle with, or getting your team together for a lunch to go over some things for your project and get feedback. There are a million ways to create your own networking opportunities. But if there are some built in, like happy hours or brown bag lunches, go to every single one and be the first person there and the last person to leave. Because again, that internship is so short and you want as much time with the people in the organization who are making a decision about you or who could impact those making a decision about you as possible. So make sure you network. The third and final is probably focus. Like I said, it's such a limited amount of time, and many of us go to business school not because we want some job that's just going to pay us more. We go to business school because we want to launch our career in the direction to fulfill our dreams. And this 12 weeks or 10 weeks, however long your internship may be, may dictate the rest of your life if you think about it. So I know that many of us have family and friends and personal things that can pull us in multiple directions, and we're going to be in new cities, all around new people, and it can get very easy to want to just go home and not participate in the extra things and pay attention to your significant other versus the people that you're interning with or working for. And my advice to you is really put in the time and effort to focus and put your internship first, no matter what, for those 12 weeks, because I think the results of doing that will always be in your favor. So I wish you all the best of luck in your internships this summer, and please let the CMC know if you have questions for me. I'd be happy to communicate with you via email or over the phone, and good luck.